So my name is Mark Rosewater. I'm the head designer for Magic the Gathering. But today, I have another role that we're going to be talking about. I'm the designer with the most banned and restricted cards. I'm not sure that's a positive thing, but see all these cards? I made these. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about card design. A few things I'd like to say before I start. Most cards are touched by many hands, so figuring out who designed what card can be tricky. The cards I'm talking about today are ones I believe I had a majority hand in designing, but others will have a hand in many of the cards I'm talking about. Parallel design often happens, meaning two designers independently design the same card. And memory is a tricky thing. Two people can remember something very differently. So some of the cards I'm going to take credit for today might have been primarily designed by another designer, and some of the cards I haven't chosen to talk about might have been made by me. So the talk reflects my best guess, but I'm sure I'm wrong on a few things, and so I apologize to any other designer who feels I misrepresented a design. Also, I have a lot of cards to talk about today, because I made a lot of banned cards, so I'm going to go quickly through my design stories. You guys ready? Okay, this is Richard Garfield. In August of 1993, he made a little game you might have known called Magic the Gathering. In January of 1994, for the very first time, some cards got banned that Richard had made. And for the next couple months, more cards got banned or restricted that Richard made. He made an alpha, he did the original alpha and he did Arabian Nights. So eventually, he got up, I believe, to 37 cards. Now I come along. In July of 1997, first off, Wizards of the Coast. I started working Wizards of the Coast in October of 1995, but it wasn't until July 1997 that cards got banned. When I started, this is what the logo looked like. Okay, so in July 1997, Envision's Squandered Resources was banned in Mirage Block. So this is what we call an engine card. What that means is something goes in and something comes out. So in this particular case, you put a land in and you get mana out. That is really good. Mana is important. Turning your land into mana is quite powerful. Meanwhile, Richard wasn't quite done yet. He actually had one more card that got banned. So July 1998, he also worked on Tempest Block. He made a card called Cursed Scroll that got banned in Tempest Block. So that Richard set his record. The record was 38 cards. That is the most cards or restricted that a designer had ever been banned. So remember that number. Okay, so I had one banned card. I was way behind him, Then in December of 1998, the Windfall got banned and restricted in Standard, Extended, Legacy. So when I say banned, it was banned in Standard, Extended, Legacy. It was restricted in Vintage. We don't tend to ban things in Vintage most of the time. You have to really be over the edge to get banned in Vintage. Usually restricted, which means you can only have one card. So this is what I call color fixing. There's a card called Winds of Change, I think in Legends. And I just made it blue. That's all I did. Obviously, Winds of Change, I think the card went back into your deck. I had you discard the card, so they were slightly different. And I made it cost more mana. Winds of Change cost 1 mana. I made it cost 3. I did make it blue, though, and that was my problem. Blue cards in Urza Saga were very powerful for a bunch of reasons. So anyway, that was my second banned card. So in December 1998, I had another card that was banned and restricted in Legacy and Vintage, a card called Stroke of Genius. This is what I call a power fixing card. That is where I take a card that's overpowered, in this case Brain Geyser, and I make a fixed version of it. Notice I added a mana. It cost 1 more mana. That wasn't enough, still broken. Okay, then we get to March of 1999. I got 6 cards banned. I'm starting to pick up the pace here. I got to catch up to Richard, obviously. So the first 3 are all engine cards. I like making engine cards. They're just fun to make. So Dream Halls allows you to turn cards in your hand essentially into mana. What is this? This is Nightmare. Recurrent Nightmare Turns creatures into play, usually small creatures, into big creatures from your graveyard. And Earthcraft turns creatures into mana. So Dream Halls was inspired by a little card called Force of Will and all the pitch cards from Antiquities. They allowed you to play a card by pitching a card of the same color. I thought that was fun. What if all cards did that? What could possibly go wrong? Interestingly, Inquest Magazine chose this card as the worst card in Stronghold. They were wrong. Recurring Nightmare was inspired by a card called Hell's Caretaker from Legends. I played a lot of this card, and I just wanted to make it into an enchantment. That was really good. And then Earthcraft, one of the things we do sometimes with cards is we like to turn all your creatures into a card. I just turned all your creatures into a Ley Druid. What was wrong with that? It was very good. Okay, Lotus Petal. This is another power fixing card. I took a little known card known as Black Lotus, and I said, what if I fix Black Lotus? So instead of making 3 mana, that's way too much. What if I made 1 mana? That should be okay, right? 1 mana should be fine. It's 2 less mana. Nope, still broken. Fluctuator, it's what we call a cost reduction card, or in this case, it was kind of free. We made this mechanic earlier in the block. Actually, Richard Garfield made this mechanic. It was originally in Tempest, but we had too many mechanics. Got kicked out, ended up in Urza Saga. All cards with cycling in Urza Saga cycles for 2. Fluctuator reduced it by 2, so it made them all free. What could go wrong? It broke. Okay, finally we have Memory Jar. Memory Jar is a card drawing. So one of the themes you'll see today is there are certain things that tend to make cards get banned, and the 2 biggest are giving you mana and giving you cards. Go figure. So anyway, I was trying to fix the card Time Twister, and I said, well, what if you could only do it for 1 turn? It wasn't forever, just you only got the cards, you got to use it immediately. What could go wrong? And we had to ban the card. We emergency banned that card. So anyway, I'm up to 9 ban restricted cards. Okay, June 1999, banned in Standard, a little card called Mind Over Matter. This is another engine. I loved engine cards. So this card takes a card in your hand and turns it into a twiddle. It's a card from Alpha. It taps or untaps a card. Really, it made mana, is what it did. And because of this little card, Tolarian Academy, it made a lot of mana. So that it was quite good. Okay, also in June 1999, this little card called Voltaic Key banned in Urza Saga block. So I'm a Johnny. I like building weird and crazy decks. I liked untapping things. I liked untapping creatures and untapping lands. So I just wanted to untap artifacts. Was that so wrong? Well, it turns out because we have artifacts that can produce lots of mana, it became really good at producing mana and got broken in Urza Saga block. So it was banned. Okay, August of 1999, Yawgmoth's Bargain gets banned and extended. Another engine, I like engine cards. This is also a power fixing card. So there's a little known card called Necropotence. Maybe you've never heard of it. It was an Ice Age. And I decided to make a cleaner version of it. But actually, secretly, I actually was more inspired by Greed, because Greed's a card that lets you pay 2 life to draw 1 card. And a little known fact is when I made the card, when I handed it off from design, it actually cost black, 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 and it made you pay 2 life for 1 card. So original Necropotence basically allowed you to pay a life to get a card, but it also had all this other text. It delayed the card. You got the card later. And I said, what if I just removed that text and made it a little bit simpler? And then in development, they decided if it's going to be Necropotence, we might as well make it Necropotence. So they changed it from black, black, black to 4 black, black and made it pay 1 life, draw a card. Okay, that was broken, but I don't know whether my version or the printed version is more powerful. They both probably would get banned, but. Okay, September 1999. The following 3 cards were banned and restricted and extended. I can't read the names, but the first one is draw to discard 2, a free spell, and Crop Rotation. Both of them, obviously, were problematic with Tolarian Academy. So I do want to point something out. I don't accredit myself with designing Tolarian Academy, but I was responsible for one thing. So originally, when Mike Elliott designed Tolarian Academy, it tapped for one colorless for every artifact you controlled. And in fact, Sarah's Sanctum and Gaia's Cradle also tapped for colorless mana. And I said, oh, there's 5 lands that are in the set. We could tie each one to a mana and make a cycle and make them all tap for colored mana. And so I changed it. So my addition to Tolarian Academy was making it tap for blue. So was it broken if it tapped for colorless? Yeah, probably. Was it more broken if it tapped for blue? Okay, yeah. So, but I'm not counting Tolarian Academy in my list, but I had a lot of cards that got banned. I did have something to do with. I didn't consider myself the major designer. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what is this spell called? Frantic Search. Okay, so in Ice Age, the Ice Age designers designed what we call cantrips. Now, in Ice Age, you got the card on the next turn. Eventually, we figured out you could just get it right away. You didn't have to wait a turn. We started doing cantrips in more sets. But Bill Rose had this idea that if we saved up things like gold cards and cantrips, they would be more exciting. And so we weren't allowed in Urza Saga block to use cantrips. I think that was dumb. I thought it was dumb at the time. So the idea is, the reason a cantrip is good is when you play a spell, it costs 2 things. It costs the card you're playing, and it costs mana. And so the idea of a cantrip is it doesn't cost the card because it replaces itself. So since I wasn't allowed to replace the card because I couldn't do cantrips, I decided to replace the mana. It sounded like a good idea. This is what we call free spells. So the idea of a free spell is it untaps as many land as your mana value. So Parroting Drake costs 5, so it untaps 5 lands. What could go wrong? Yeah, okay. Okay, the other thing about free spells that was really interesting is normally if you want to fix a card, you can make it more expensive and it gets weaker, but free spells get stronger. So anyway, a weird quirk. So crop rotation, I was inspired by Natural Order from Visions. So Natural Order lets you sack a green creature to go get a green card. And I said, oh, well, what if you could sack a land to go get a land? That felt like a cool idea. I think it was a cool idea. Probably if I let you get a basic land, it wouldn't have been broken, but I let you get any land. And again, Tolarian Academy is a thing. So, okay. Then we get to Tinker. Anybody here ever played Tinker? So this is what I call a cleanup card. I was doing honest work. There's this card in Antiquities called Transmute Artifact that I loved. I thought it was a great card. But look how wordy that card is. There's a lot of words on that card. So basically, the core of it was you sacked an artifact, and you got to go in your deck and get an artifact and put it into play. There was other text on it that said you had to pay the difference in cost between them. Whatever, extra words. So I decided to clean it up and I charged a little bit more mana. Instead of 2 mana, it was 3 mana. And so I just took out the whole pay extra mana part. R&D one day, the discussion in R&D was what was the most broken card that Mark ever designed? And Tinker won. Tinker, apparently turning any artifact into any other artifact is very, very good. Okay, so those are the cards that are banned. I'm up to 15 cards now. Okay, June of 2000, Rashadan Port was banned in Mercadian Mass Block. So much like we weren't allowed to make cantrips in Urza Saga block, we were not allowed to make multicolor cards in Mercadian Mass Block. So because of that, we were doing more monocolor stuff, so we decided to include a bunch of lands that tap for colorless and did, little things. One of them, Dust Bowl, I had this quest. I was trying to make a fixed strip mine. So in Tempest, I tried my first hand at it with Wasteland, which, to be honest, was not as bad as strip mine, but still a little too good. Dust Bowl was my third attempt to make a fixed, or second attempt to make a fixed strip mine. I still missed. It's still a little too good. I think Ghost Quarter was the one I finally did that I think it's right, so anyway. Okay, so I made 4 other lands that were just supposed to do little tiny effects. And this one just tapped a land. 1 mana, tap a land. That seems pretty minor, right? That can't possibly be a problem. It's Twitter, but it's not even all of Twiddle. It's not the whole thing. It's just untapped land. It's just or tap land, one little tiny part of it. But apparently, if you deny your opponent mana, it's really good. So it got banned. These other 3 were not so memorable, but that one got banned. Okay, in March 2001, I got 2 cards banned and extended: Replenish and Survival of the Fittest. So Replenish is what I call churning, where sometimes we take something we do one place and we just start doing it in the other places. So we had made some cards that brought back creatures from the graveyard and artifacts from the graveyard and lands from the graveyard. So Urza Saga, although most people didn't realize this, had an enchantment theme. Although the funny story is, the creative team that did the story, we weren't as closely linked at the time. So we made a set all about enchantments, and they named it the Artifact Block. So it was, but anyway, I just wanted to get back enchantments. What could go wrong? Well, it broke. Survival of the Fittest. This is what I call a transforming card. Again, I took Natural Order. I really like Natural Order. Remember, Natural Order was a sorcery, so I decided to make an enchantment out of it. This one, you could sack any green card in play to go get a green creature out of your deck and put it into play. So I did the same thing, but what if it's from your hand? You still had to cast it, right? I wasn't getting to play for free. It just took a creature in your hand and turned into a creature in your deck. Well, that was really good. And so both these cards got banned and extended. Okay, October 2002. This is Test of Endurance. So back in Antiquities, there's a card called Millstone. So when Richard Garfield first made the game, he knew that what happens if you have a stalemate on the board and neither player can do damage to the other player? How does the game end? And the answer was, well, whoever can't draw a card first loses. So in Antiquities, they made a card called Millstone, where you could try to win, or more consciously win, by milling out your opponent. I thought that was awesome. Then in Legends, there are 2 cards that introduce poison counters. If you know anything about me, I really, really like poison counters, and so that was exciting. So I decided, hey, maybe we make more cards that let you win in other ways. So I made a card in Unglued called The Cheese Stands Alone that literally had win the game on it. And I made other cards that let you win the game. So eventually, I was leading the design for Odyssey, and I tried to level up. What's better than an alt-win game card? 5, a cycle of them. So I made a cycle of them. Because we didn't want to put too many in one set, we broke them up. So 2 of them, Battle of Wits and Chance Encounter, were in Odyssey. Mortal Kombat was in Torment, which was the black set. And then Epic Struggle and Test of Endurance was in Judgment, which was the green and white set. So this card, you won the game, but you had to get a 50 life. You started at 20 life. You had to get 30 life. That seems like it shouldn't be a problem. Well, in games where you start with 40 life, it was a little bit easier, so I got banned in Commander. Okay, next up. Oh, by the way, I'm at the halfway point here. I'm slowly catching up to Richard. So in March of 2003, Entomb is banned and restricted and extended in Vintage. So I liked playing Reanimate decks. I thought they were fun. But a lot of times it was really hard to get your creature that you want to animate into your graveyard. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a card that did that? So I made Entomb. I thought tutoring to your graveyard wouldn't be a problem. Like, it's not in your hand or anything, but it is, so it got banned. Okay, May 2003. These 5 cards got banned in Commander, the Wishes from Judgment. So we brought back Urnum Jin in Judgment. We brought back Sanger Vampire in Torment. We brought back Urnum Jin. Here's how he looked like in... He's a little more buff, I think, in the Judgment. And so we were planning to use him for the ad campaign. And so we wanted something that was Jinn-related. And what do Jinns do? They cast wishes. So I was really inspired by a card called Ring-a-Maroof made by Richard Garfield. and it got a card from outside the game. That seemed really cool. So I decided to make a whole cycle of cards from outside the game so we could tie it to Urnham Djinn. And these were all the card types at the time that I made this card. And so the white card took artifacts and enchantments. The blue card took instants. The red card took sorceries. And the green card took creatures and lands. And the black card, we sort of ripped off Demonic Tutor, which was an alpha. And we made you pay half your life to get it. That apparently, not one of the better wishes. Anyway, we played this. The reason it got banned in Commander is they don't work in Commander. There is no sideboard. Normally in tournament play, you get it from your sideboard. In casual play, you get it from your collection of cards. Commander didn't let you do that, so the cards didn't work in Commander, so they banned them. Okay, in October 2003, Gush. So this card was inspired by Force of Will. So Force of Will is what we call an alternate casting cost, which means you can play it without casting mana. So in Mercadian Masks, each color had its own way to get free spells. White tapped untapped creatures, blue returned lands, black sacrificed black creatures, red sacrificed mountains, and green gave the opponent life. Well, it turns out returning islands was pretty good. This particular card was inspired by, in fact, it's the very first card I made as the alt for blue. And I was just a card drawer. Draw 2 cards, that's a normal blue thing. But apparently draw 2 cards for free is really, really good. Once again, a lot of these cards is I let you avoid doing things like paying mana. Lesson. Okay, Banned and Extended. This is Ancient Tomb from Tempest. So Ancient Tomb is kind of like Sol Ring. So I knew it couldn't be 0 life. That would be too good. And I said 1 life. Okay, that still seems too good. So 2 life. 2 life. That must be right. Okay, it wasn't. We have made a rule now. We with rare exception, you have to jump through a lot of hoops. We don't give you lands that just tap for 2 mana anymore. That cause problems. Okay, in December 2003. Chrome Mox was restricted in Vintage. So you guys might recognize these 5 cards. These are the Moxen, or Moxie, or Moxes from Alpha. So all of them were artifacts. They all tapped for mana, and they all cost 0. So that kind of defined what a Mox was. It did those 3 things. It's an artifact, taps for mana, it costs 0. So we tried to make some Moxes. We made one called Mox Diamond. It fit all the rules, but we put an extra cost on it. We're like, okay, we know 0 is pretty good. So, well, this one made you discard a card, a land card. So Chrome Mox, it was the same basic thing. It did all the things the Mox did. And we tried using Imprint. Okay, what if you take a card from your hand and discard it? So the lesson here is that Moxes are good. And we're getting better at it, but a lot of the Moxes I've made have been banned and restricted. Okay, get to June 2004. Skullclamp. Okay. This one isn't my fault. So I made a card called Bequeathal. And Bequeathal, it was this experimental card. You enchanted a creature, and then when it died, you drew 2 cards. And the idea was that it would offset both itself, because it's a card, and the creature. And I was very proud of this card, but nobody played it because it didn't do anything. Like it negated card disadvantage, but it didn't do anything. And then in the set before the set, we introduced in Mirrodin, we introduced artifacts. Not artifacts, equipment. And so Linear Scimitar was just, it costs 1, it's +1/+1, equip, was it 1? I believe, yes. Okay, so Skullclamp was just me combining Bequeathal with Lean and Scimitar. Right? No problem there. Now, what you might not know is originally Skullclamp was +1/+1 because it was Bequeathal plus Lean and Scimitar. That's what I handed off to development. Then in development, they said, you know, it'd be kind of cute if we made it +1/-1. I mean, obviously, +1/-1 is worse than +1/+1, and so they changed it. That is the problem. It wasn't my card. It's this idea that we can just turn +1, +1 to +1, -1. Obviously, that allows you to kill your 1/1s, kill your toughest creatures. Anyway, it's very good. If you haven't played it, it's very good. Okay, September 2004, Metalworker. So in Urza's Destiny, so I designed Urza's Destiny all by my lonesome. There was a point in time where R&D didn't have a lot of people in it. We would eventually hire more people, but I designed the set by myself, or did the vision, or the early design, or whatever, design by myself. So I made a card called the Seers. The Seer, and I made the Sense for spells. The Seers let you tap and reveal so many cards from your hand of the color of the Seer, and then it did an effect based on that scalable effect based on that. I thought that was pretty cool. So I said, why not make an artifact version? Well, what do artifacts do? They produce mana. And for some reason, I had you produce 2 colorless mana for every artifact you revealed. I don't know why not 1. I have no idea why I made it 2. So this one's on me. I made it 2, and it makes a lot of mana. So once again, kids, don't make a lot of mana. Don't avoid paying mana. Don't make them draw cards. Be careful with engine cards. There's the lessons today. Okay, October 2004. This is Beacon of Immortality, Banned and Commander. Okay, so Richard Garfield made a card in Alpha called Berserk. Berserk doubled your power. That was awesome. I loved Berserk. I had a little weenie green deck I made where on turn 1 I would play either an elf or I played a bird, usually a bird, and then in turn 2 I kill you with the bird, doing 20 damage. It was very fun. But anyway, a big part of that was this card. So anyway, I like doubling so much that I made a lot of doubling cards. A lot of them doubled damage. That was easiest. But I doubled other things. And there was a period in time that if the card doubled, I made it. In fact, R&D used to mock me for making doubling cards. But I got my last laugh, which is I made them so popular that the new R&D people we hired, they started making doubling cards, and I didn't have to do it anymore. And so now they make doubling cards. So that's the secret. So actually, in Fifth Dawn, with the set that I led, I made 3 doubling cards. I doubled life, I doubled mana, I doubled +1/+1 counters. I was doubling everything. So it turns out that this particular one, the card was designed and balanced around 20 life, not 40 life. So once again, Commander having some different parameters to it made us had to ban it. Okay, October 2004. I got 8 cards banned. This is, I think, the most I ever got banned at one time. Okay, let's first talk about the artifact lands. There were 6 of them. 5 of them were in the Mirrodin. 1 was in Darksteel. Okay, so there's a card in Alpha that I... By the way, do you notice how all these stories start with, there's a card in Alpha I really liked. So Juggernaut, I just make a cleaner version so we can see it. So Juggernaut is both an artifact and a creature. I thought that was so cool. It was 2 card types. That seemed really cool. So I was making an artifact set. Mirrodin was an artifact set. So I said, could I make another dual card type that was an artifact? I only had 2 choices at the time. It was enchantment or land. And enchantment felt wrong. I would later do it. So I did eventually do it. But in land seemed like the right choice. And the cool thing about land is I thought it's kind of like a Mox, right? And Moxes were okay, right? Anyway, my thought was, some cards, it's an advantage. I could sack it to my ATOG and make my ATOG bigger. But it has a negative. My opponent could have Shatter. They could destroy it for 2 mana. You can't normally destroy land for 2 mana. So like, oh, it's both a positive and a negative. So I can make it, and they could come and play untapped because it's not a positive thing. It goes both ways. And so, okay, but I also in the set made affinity for artifacts, which kind of turns them into soul rings. As a general rule of thumb, if you're comparing your card to a soul ring, that's a problem. So anyway, I made 5 of them in Mirrodin, and development came to me and they said these might be problematic with affinity for artifacts, and I fought to keep them. I said, I know that's true, but there's so many fun other things you can do with them. Think of the Johnnies and Timmies and Johnnies and Jennies and Timmies and Tammies of the world. Don't let Spike ruin everything. They could have fun with it, and they did. but Spike did ruin it, and they were very good. I made one more, Dark Steel. So Bill Rose led Dark Steel, and one day Bill and I were talking, and we wanted to figure out what new thing we do to artifacts. And Bill said to me, well, what don't players like? And I go, well, they don't like when they blow up your artifacts. And I go, wait, what if you couldn't blow up the artifacts? And so we made up indestructible, which at the time was just an English word and not a keyword yet. But anyway, I thought it'd be cool to make a colorless land that was indestructible. What harm could that do? But anyway, we banned all of them. Okay, 2 other cards. Disciple of the Vault. Let's talk about that one first. So Disciple of the Vault was a mirrored pair. One of them, when artifacts left the graveyard, your opponent lost life. The other one, when they entered play, you gained life. One of these was better than the other. Do you want to know how I know this? Because Alpha taught it to me. Damage is better than life gain. So anyway, one of them was not a problem. The other one got banned. Okay, so next we have Arcbound Ravager. Okay, so Arcbound Ravager used a mechanical modular, which is so by the way, one of these days I'm going to make a new modular that isn't restricted to artifact creatures, but it's on my list to do. Modular is a mechanic that says whenever this creature dies, or modular 1 means it enters with a +1/+1 counter, and then whenever it dies, move all +1 counters on it to another artifact creature. I love ATOGs. In fact, ATOG, before I came to Wizards, was my all-time favorite creature. My blog is named Blogatog. It might be a sign that I like ATOGs. But anyway, I thought it'd be cool to do a modular card that was like an ATOG. ATOG, you could sack to get +2/+2 until end of turn. But it had modular, so I needed a +1/+1 counter. So instead of +2/+2, it just got a single +1/+1 counter. Anyway, anybody here playing Arcbound Ravager ever? Yeah, it's really good. In fact, it got banned in Standard. So something important happens here. You might notice that I have 39 banned and restricted cards. I officially in Mirrodin passed Richard. I'm not... I don't know that's worthy of applause, guys. But our story does not end here, because that was Mirrodin, and that was 2004. I continued to work at Wizards. Okay, in April of 2005, the following 3 cards got banned in Commander. First is Upheaval. So one of the ways we make one of the ways we make rares, before I didn't slip there, one of the ways we make rares is we'll take a card and say, well, instead of it doing it to one target, what if it does to all targets? So I was inspired by Boomerang, a card from Legends. Anyway, apparently bouncing everything is a lot like kind of destroying everything, and it's very good. So it got banned. This is World Gorger Dragon. So there's a mechanic in Torment called the we called it the Nightmare mechanic. Richard Garfield actually designed it in Odyssey, by the way, but I held on to it until we got to Torment. The way it works is when it enters, it takes away something from your opponent. Faceless Butcher takes away a creature from your opponent. And then it gets exiled. And then when it dies, they get it back. Ironically, we now do this all the time in white, but it originally was in black. In Judgment, we made red and blue nightmare creatures that did the opposite. Meaning, when it entered, you lost your own stuff, and then you got it back when it died. So this particular card took all your other permanents. And you would think it took all your other permanents. But it was a really big creature that had a lot of good abilities. And apparently, it didn't matter if you had no other cards. I think it's a 7/7. A 7/7 dragon will kill you pretty quickly. And then finally, Panoptic Mirror. So I made a card called Soul Foundry. But I made it years earlier. Soul Foundry came out in Mirrodin. I made this in Tempest. It was called Clone Machine. And it allowed you to you could discard, when you played it, you took a card from your hand and put it underneath it. And then it made creatures of that type. I thought it was very clever. The rules manager said I couldn't do it, and it got killed from Tempest. It turned into Volres Laboratory, I think. Anyway, years later, we figured out how to, in fact, inspired a whole mechanic. The imprint mechanic came from me trying to make a whole bunch of clone machines. I figure if I'm going to make the rules work for it, I might as well get a whole mechanic out of it. Clone Machine / Soul Foundry made creatures. So I'm like, well, if making creatures is fun, making spells would be fun. And I wasn't wrong, it was fun, but also very good. So anyway, these all got banned in Commander in April of 2005. Okay, March 2007, Coalition Victory, and then Rofellos got banned as a commander. Okay, so Coalition Victory. Remember the story I just told you about how I loved alt-win conditions? If you remember that story, I said, oh, and I made a bunch of cards with alt-win conditions. Well, one of the cards I showed you back then was this card. So one of the cool things about this card was it was the second ever 5-color card. Anyone know the first ever 5-color card? Sliver Queen. I also made Sliver Queen. So I liked making 5-color cards. I now have other people do it for me. And so anyway, I just thought it was a fun win condition. Coalition Victory is like you have to have one of every color and every basic land in play. That felt like a hard thing to do. In Commander, it's just not as hard as it is in 2-player. And then Rofellos. So of my many, not only am I a designer, I also was once a storyteller. My background before I came to Wizards was I used to write for television. I'm a writer. And so I and my friend, Michael Ryan, created a little thing known as the Weatherlight Saga. And so we made all the characters from the Weatherlight Saga. So there's Gerard, his best friend Miri, and they trained because we were doing Joseph Campbell, the Myth of the Epic Hero. So basically, there's a book that says that there's only 8 stories in the world, and that's one of the 8 stories. Anyway, so Michael and Ryan and I were copying that story, that archetype exactly. There has to be a mentor. It's Yoda in Star Wars. I'm sorry, it's Ben Kenobi, and then it's Yoda later. And so anyway, Multani trained Gerard and Miri. But there was actually a third person there because in order for our story to work, we needed a reason for Gerard and Miri to leave the Weatherlight. And what that reason is they had a friend, the third person who studied under Multani, who died. And his name was Rofellos. We thought it'd be really cool to have a Llanowar elf in our story. So we made Rofellos a literal Llanowar elf. So when I designed him, I was inspired by Llanowar elf. And I'm like, well, let's make a really good elf. Llanowar elf is 1 green mana for a 1-power creature, taps for 1 mana. Rofellos is a 2-mana, 2-power creature that taps for, well, more than 2 mana because it's how many forests you have. So anyway, apparently he's a really good commander if you didn't know that because having lots of mana is really good. Okay. In June of 2007, Restricted and Vintage, Gifts Ungiven. Okay, so I made a card in Tempest called Intuition. You went in your deck, you got 3 cards, and then you showed them to your opponent. They picked one of them that went in your hand, the other 2 went in the graveyard. I think that's how it worked. So I was playing against Mike Elliott, the very first time we'd ever played the card, and he went and got 3 of the exact same card. And I said to him, no, Mike, that's not how it works. You have to get 3 different cards. And Mike said, that's not what the card says. And I said, Mike, I'm the designer, that's not the intent. Fine, I wrote it down wrong. And Mike went to the other R&D members and said he liked it. And he convinced them not to change it. So I did what any good designer does. I just made it again. So Gifts Ungiven is Intuition. I made it 4 cards. I was trying to make it a little bit different. But I was very careful. 4 differently named cards. And so, ironically, I don't think Intuition ever got banned, and Gifts Ungiven did. So, anyway, that's where Gifts Ungiven came from. Okay, February 2008, Kokushu, the Falling Star, Bandit Commander. Okay, so we actually made these in development. I wasn't on the design team for Champs Kamigawa, but I was on the development team. So one day we were trying to make a cycle of dragons, because dragons are a big part of Japanese mythology. And we asked the question, what do players most hate when they have a dragon? And the answer is, it being killed. That's what they hate. So I pitched the following idea. What if we made these really exciting dragons that if you killed them and they died, did something powerful? So that way, if they're alive, you hit them with it. And if they're dead, they get to do something. So either way, at least you get something out of it. So no matter what, you get something cool. And surprise, surprise, that worked. People really liked them. The problem with this one is we said, this is back in the day where our approach to multiplayer play technology was just say each whenever we could. So it said each player, and you gain life for everybody. So in a multiplayer game, the life switch was pretty high, so it got banned. Okay, next up, September 2008, Grindstone. So I love Millstone. If you haven't learned this yet, I love Millstone. I also love little games. I love things in which you don't know what's going to happen. So for example, this card, you roll 2 dice, and one's the power and one's the toughness. So I came up with a little mini game for Millstone. Millstone's mill 2 cards. And I said, well, what if they match each other? Then you can mill again. And the idea was, maybe it mills 2 cards, maybe it mills 4 cards, maybe it mills 12 cards. The intent was never mill the deck. That was never the intent. Interestingly, the card that causes that problem is later up in this. We're getting to it in a second. But Grindstone and a card that I'm about to talk about, combined, you can mill your whole opponent's deck out, and that was a problem. Okay, we'll get to that card in a second. Okay, Braids, Cabal Minion, banned as commander. So Braids was in the Odyssey story. So there was a thing called the Cabal, and they fought in the pits, and there were pit fighters. And her whole thing was she was a little crazy, and she liked destroying things. So I made a card for her where she'd made everybody destroy things. I guess that's really good as a commander. So they got banned. Although I really like her as a character, by the way. She's a really cool character. Okay. In June of 2009, Thirst for Knowledge was restricted in Vintage. So early Magic had a lot of card drawing, some of it a little too good. Eventually, we calmed it down and made card drawing that's a little more fair. We also started doing what we call card sifting or card utility, where it's not that you're going up in cards, but you get card utility. You get to improve your cards. So I just wanted to combine that with artifacts. So the idea I had was, well, what if you drew 2 cards and discarded 2 cards, but instead of discarding 2 cards, if you discarded an artifact, you could go up in cards. So the idea was, it was card utility unless you had an artifact, then it was card advantage. I was very proud of the design. I thought it was really clever. So much so, by the way, that we keep doing it. We've done it, and we'll keep doing it. It's fun. We all call them thirst cards. So anyway, it is a good design. It did get banned, but I don't feel so. It's a good design. I don't feel guilty about that one. Okay, December 2009. Painter Servant. Remember Grindstone? Okay, so there's a card in Alpha that I love. I loved a lot of cards in Alpha, as we're learning today. Sleight of Mind. It said choose a color. I thought that was awesome. And then you got to change the word color. And then there's this cycle of cards in Legends that you could change as many creatures as you wanted to other colors. I love choosing colors. I love changing colors. So I made a lot of cards that made you choose a color. I made a lot of cards that let you change colors. So what if we did that all in one card? You could pick a color and then change everything into that color. That sounds innocent enough, right? Right? But somebody made this other card called Grindstone. What was that person up to? And combined, you can destroy your opponent's whole deck, mill them all out. So it got banned. Okay, Staff of Domination. So this card got designed because I came up with a cool idea. I wanted to make a card that had a 1 activation, a 2 activation, a 3 activation, a 4 activation, and a 5 activation. It entertained me. I thought it was cool. I started with the 5. I knew I wanted card draw. I said, normally we do card draw for 4, but that's all the card does, so we made it 5. The next thing I added was life gain. 2 felt about the right for the life gain. I then added tap a creature. I'm like, well, if you're going to tap a creature, I guess you can untap a creature. And then the Peace Day Resistance, I'm actually very proud of this design, is I let you untap it for 1. I thought that was pretty cool. By the way, people ask me, a lot of these cards are banned. Most of these cards I'm proud of. I actually think they're good designs. I'm not in charge of balance, so Okay, maybe someone should have weakened them. Although this card's a hard card to change. I hard locked you into numbers, but anyway, this card got banned in Commander. Apparently, it's good in Commander. Utility's really good in Commander. Okay, also banned in Commander. Sword of the Meek. Okay, a little trivia for you guys. This was inspired by a card that I really liked, but not an alpha. What card was it? Pendelhaven from Legends. Who said that? Anyone say that? Remember that little weenie deck that I played where I attacked you with a Bird of Paradise or a Llanowar Elf? One of the ways to make my Llanowar Elf bigger was, because Pendelhaven taps for green, or you can give +1/+2 to a 1/1 creature. So anyway, all I was trying to do with Sword of the Meek is just turn Pendelhaven into an equipment. Is that so wrong? Apparently, yes, it got banned. But, okay. Next, in August of 2011, I got 6 cards banned in Modern. These weren't all at the same time, but they got banned all at once. Okay, so we get to Ancestral Vision. Okay, so we made this cycle. We made this mechanic in Time Spiral called Suspend. And we came up with this clever idea. What if we made a cycle of suspend cards that suspended for it cost 0. I mean, you had to suspend it. You couldn't cast it. And that allowed us to make some pretty broken cards. One of which was Ancestral Recall. One of which was Ancestral Recall. What could go wrong making Ancestral Recall? Well, okay, it gets banned. Then this is Bitterblossom. I'd made the card Phyrexian Arena a couple years before. That was enchantment. Every turn you paid a life, you got a card. I liked that recipe. So what instead of a card, you got a 1/1 fairy. That sounded pretty cool. I mean, it was pretty cool, but it was problematic in Modern. Next, we have Dread Return. So I made a mechanic in Odyssey called Flashback, inspired by, I used to head judge the feature match areas at the Pro Tour. And when I got bored, when one player was way ahead of the other player, I would give abilities to the person losing in my head to see what they would do if they had these abilities. And that's why I designed Flashback. I would give them like, oh, you could cast out of your graveyard. Anyway, I put it into Odyssey. We eventually tried doing it with non-mana costs. And all I was trying to do is make a card with non-mana costs. You have to sacrifice creatures to get creatures back. I don't know, it sounded cool to me. It was very good. Next, we have, what's this guy called? Golgari Grave Troll. So this was in Ravnica. We were trying to design a mechanic for Golgari. I actually designed a whole bunch of mechanics. I think we designed like 30 mechanics. We designed a whole bunch of mechanics for them. In the end, here's the mechanic. I made a mechanic called Dredge. So the idea was you just could draw it instead of drawing another card. It was overcosted. For example, it was a 5-mana 3/3. That's not that good. Then I turned it into design, and they got clever with it, and they added the whole, you had to mill cards. I think they made it stronger, to be honest. Anyway, apparently that whole engine, Dredge, is a very powerful mechanic, and it had to get... We banned a lot of Dredge cards, but this was, I think, the first one that got banned. Okay, Umazai's Jitte. Okay, so this one also not my fault. So this ability, the -1/-1 ability, when I handed the card over, it produced black. You'll notice, by the way, it's a 2. It costs 2. It equips for 2. You can do, I guess, 3 things, but each one of them was 2. +2/+2, or gain 2 life, or add 2 black mana. Well, it turns out that it doesn't work. And they found this out in templating at the very end. It had to do with how, like, you add mana. Anyway, it didn't work. So at the very last minute, they had to change it. And so they changed it to -1/-1. And I believe that's why the card is... I like to believe that's why the card got banned. Maybe I'm wrong, but in my mind, that's why the card got banned. Finally, we got Valakut. So in this set, we made a cycle of rare cards that did different things. And remember the Trillion Academy cycle? Remember I said we made a cycle out of it? Remember this card, Shivan Gorge? It was not the best card of the cycle. And so I felt I owed it to red to make it the best card in the cycle. And so I did here. And so this was kind of like Landfall. Landfall was in the set. And so this was kind of like Mountain Fall, sort of. I mean, you had to get enough mountains first. But anyway, I liked the design, but it was very powerful. So I'm up to 58. September 2011, Cloudpost and Rite of Flame. So Cloudpost, so I loved Alpha. We know that today. I also loved Antiquities. I was a big fan of Antiquities. My favorite set before I came to Wizards. So I loved Mishra's Workshop. I loved the Urzatron. I also love Plague Rats because I love Alpha things. And so this card was trying to cross Urzatron with Plague Rats. The idea that like the more of them you have, the more mana you get. Anyway, Plague Rats plus Urzatron is really strong. And then Rite of Flame. Originally, in Alpha, black was the color that did what we call rituals. It got you mana. For 1 mana, you get more mana. We moved it over to red. That's one of the things I did, trying to clean up the color pie. Red is more about short-term gain. It just made more sense in red. So this card I added to Kindle. Kindle's a mechanic I made in Tempest where I was trying to make Plague Rats for like Lightning Bolt plus Plague Rat. So the first Kindle does 2 damage, and then 3 damage, and then 4 damage. It counts how many Kindles are in your graveyard. So that was just me trying to do that. Anyway, once again, I think a lot of these came from a very fun place, but they ended up being a little powerful. Okay, September 2011, Punishing Fire. There's a card I really loved in Mirage called Hammer of Bogarden. It was a direct damage spell that you could get back from the graveyard. I also really like the idea of red punishing life gain, because red is white's enemy and white's the king of life gain. And so this was just me combining those 2 cards together. Okay, March 2012, we have Intangible Virtue. White likes giving +1, or white likes boosting creatures. White also likes making tokens. That's all I was doing. I was just boosting tokens. Hey, white likes making creature tokens. Why not boost them up? So by the way, the creative team hated this card because there's 0 creative difference between a bear and a token bear. They're the same creatively. There's no difference between them. And I had to make them care about what does it mean to be a creature token. That's why the art is very nondescript, because there's no way to do it. Okay. In June 2012, we made Gristlebrand. I was inspired by Necropotence, if you couldn't figure that one out. You pay 7 life for 7 cards. It was a 7/7, pay 7 life for 7 cards. I swear when I turned it in, it cost 7 mana. It did. But development had this weird thing about the card being too good, and so they added a mana to it. Probably not enough mana, I guess. But anyway, it's a very, very good card, and in Commander, it's even better. So got banned in Commander. Okay, January 2013, Seething Song. Once again, remember, I was trying to move things over to red. So if 2 mana gets you 3, because that's what the red version of 1 mana gets you 3, I know it's broken. If 2 mana gets you 3, what does 3 mana get you? I guess 5. Sounded right. Okay, Banded Pauper. These first 2 cards are a mechanic known as Storm. I named a whole scale after them. So what happened was Storm came out. It was horribly broken. Why does Empty the Warrens and Grape Shot exist? Hubris. Hubris is why it existed. I said, don't worry. Yeah. They didn't know what they were doing, but we know what we're doing. We did not. It was broken. I named a scale after it. Okay, and then Invigorate. If you remember, I told the story about Mercadian Mass doing alternate costs. And remember, we had blue return islands? Well, it turns out giving the opponent life, also broken, especially when you don't care that they have life. So it was very good with Glistener Elf, which was a 1 mana, 1/1 infect 1. And that, anyway, they were very good together. Band and Pauper. Okay, in May of 2013, we have Second Sunrise. So white is very good at being protective. White is very good at bringing back things from the graveyard. That's all I was doing. It felt like an honest white card. I even let every player do it. But it turns out when you use this, it's only when you need it and not when your opponents need it most of the time. So anyway, it was very good. It got banned in Modern. Okay, next up, banned and restricted in Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise. So in Future Sight, we made the future shifted cards. These were cards from the future that didn't exist yet. So I made up a bunch of mechanics from the future. So one of them was Delve, which I was very proud of. I made 3 of them. In fact, it's the only mechanic I made in Future Sight on the shifter sheet that I made 3 of them. It was inspired by Skeletal Scrying. I like the idea of black using the graveyard as a resource. That felt cool. And then we were making Khans of Tarkir, and we had a clan that cared about the graveyard. It felt like the perfect fit. Delve is really good. Apparently, getting free mana, I hadn't learned the lesson yet. Getting free mana is really good. One day I'll learn. Okay, January 2016, Splinter Twin, banned in Modern. So another alpha card that I loved. Okay, I liked a lot of alpha. Clone and Vesuvian Doppelganger. Also, Dance of Mini came out in the dark. It made a clone token. That sounded really exciting to me. So I made a lot of clone cards. I made a lot of doubling cards. I made a lot of clone cards. I made a lot of alt-win cards. Anyway, you can see my passions coming through here. I also made Kiki Jiki, Mirror Breaker, which I was very proud of. And all I was trying to do is, auras are weak, right? So if I make an aura that makes Kiki Jiki, that can't be a problem, right? Right? Okay. January 2016, Cloud of Fairies. The one thing I want to point out, we did this fun thing back in Urza Saga, like Mirage through Urza Saga, where we made collectives that we named, and I made up the term Cloud of Fairies, which I was very proud of. Like, we did, in Mirage, we did ones that existed, like Crash of Rhinos, that already exists. But we started making them up, so I was very proud of Cloud of Fairies. Anyway, do you remember my story earlier in this presentation about the free mechanic? It's still broken, so. Okay, April 2016, Eye of Ugin, banned in Modern. Okay, so I made a card in Darksteel called Shield of Kaldra. And on it, it mentioned the Sword of Kaldra that had been in the previous set in Mirrodin. It mentioned the Shield of Kaldra. Well, that's that. And it mentioned the Helm of Kaldra. What is the Helm of? There was no Helm of Kaldra. It was in the next set. And that got me into my love of teasing things that didn't exist. So the Eldrazi were coming. In Zendikar, you saw these Hedrons that were weird looking, and you knew that the world was kind of in disarray. And then Worldwake happened. And the very next set was the Rise of the Eldrazi. But you guys hadn't met the Eldrazi yet. So we teased them by making Eldrazi spells cost less, which made the players go, what are Eldrazi spells? We did put a second ability on it that did work, so the card did work before the Eldrazi came out. But anyway, we made a lot of powerful Eldrazi, I guess, so it caused problems. Okay, Peregrine Drake, banned in Pauper. Free spells, still broken. Okay, November 2016, Aetherwork Marvel, banned in Standard. So in Mirrodin, I was inspired by Serrated Arrows, probably the only thing in Homelands that ever inspired me to design a card. To make, the idea was, I loved the idea that you only had so many uses out of something. And eventually I started letting them use, like, well, I come with 3 counters, I get 3 uses. And then I said, well, what if I could use the counters from other cards? Anyway, this led to energy. I came up with energy. I was very proud of it. Mirrodin had too much in it, and so we had to pull energy from it. And we ended up doing like charge counters or something simple. But anyway, years later, 13 years later, I think, I tried putting energy in all sorts of sets. Eventually, we found a set that had it. It turns out the economy is really hard to do. This card was really cool, but it was not that hard to get that much energy, and so it ended up being broken. Okay, January 2019, Clark Clan Ironworks, another engine card. Put an artifact in, get mana out. What could go wrong? By the way, this is the third or fourth, maybe fifth. There's a lot of get rid of something, get mana that are, because obviously I had done Squandered Resources and Mind Over Matter. Anyway, I made a whole bunch of them. They're all broken, and so. Okay, May of 2019. Days banned in Pauper. Remember how I bounced islands and that was a problem? Still a problem. Okay. Bridge from Below. Okay, so remember I talked about making the cards in Future Sight that were future shifted. So it turns out making cards from the future were really hard. And normally when we have a hole, we do what we'll call hole filling, and we let anybody who wants to in the department fill holes. Or people at Wizards, I guess. People were really bad at filling holes. It was really, really hard to make future shifted cards. So what happened was, one day Mike Turian, the lead of the set, came to me and it said, look, I got to hand this file off. I got an hour. I have 2 holes. And so I made Bridge from Below and another card I'll tell you in a second in that hour. Bridge from Below was inspired by the anger cycle, what we called the Jedis at the time, cards that had an ability while in the graveyard, and Pestilence, because Pestilence would go away if there weren't any creatures in play. And so, anyway, I made Bridge from Below and Narcomoeba in that hour. So I was very proud of myself, although Bridge from Below is broken. Okay, August 2019, we have Faithless Looting. Blue got to do looting. We thought maybe, and because red did Wheel of Fortune, maybe red could do looting. We figured out really quickly that it should do rummaging, not looting, meaning it should discard before it draws. That's more red. We only printed 1 card the other way, and that's the one everybody plays. So, November 2019, Oath of Nissa. We made a whole bunch of oaths to represent people joining the Gatewatch. As people joined the Gatewatch, we did those. It would have an effect when you entered, an effect that made Planeswalkers better. This was the good one. In November 2019, we made a card called Once Upon a Time. We actually started with a top-down name, Once Upon a Time, and we decided it would do something if it's the first spell you ever played. We ended up searching for things, a little good. January 2020, Mox Opal. Once again, Moxes are broken, you know that. Okay, August 2020, we made a card called Ruined Halo. So Nebuchadnezzar, a card from Legends. I liked this, cool that you can name a card. I made a lot of cards to let you name a card. I also think protection's fun. I made a lot of weird protections. I just combined them. I let you pick the card and then make the protection. Okay, banned Historical Brawl. Then Simeon's Spirit Guide, January 21. Another color fixing card. I just took a green card and made it red. What could go wrong? Well, the green card was broken, so the red card is broken. April 2021, I made Tainted Pact. This was demonic consultation, but what we call Yahtzee's what you call a press your luck game. I just thought it'd be fun to make a press your luck card. Well, it was good. June 2021, Time Warp was me redoing Time Walk. Time Walk costs 1 in a blue. So what if it costs an extra 1 in a blue? And still another 1. Still broken. Next up, March 2023. I made, so by the way, I'm going fast here because I'm running out of time. I made a bunch more cards. This card was inspired by the idea that Chain Lightning at your opponent respond to you doing it. Forbidden Ritual let you do it as many times as you wanted. This card was, you can draw 4 and they draw 2 and they choose how many times you get to do that. Next up, Ad Nauseam. Bob Marr made a card called Dark Confidant. I was just trying to do a riff on Dark Confidant, but a Push Your Luck version. Then there's Tooth and Nail. Remember when I explained that energy went away? Well, in a dream, I replaced it with Entwine. Literally, I dreamed it up in a dream, woke it up, wrote it down. And so those cards got banned. Oh, sorry. Oops. So anyway, I'm at 89 cards. I far past Richard Garfield. I said, probably, maybe one day somebody will catch up to me, but probably won't be for a while. And then Infinity happened. So Infinity banned every sticker card and every attraction card in Vintage, Legacy, and Pauper. Technically, every card that made a sticker, every card that made an attraction. There are 55 cards that made stickers. There are 26 cards that made attractions. I led the exploratory, the vision, and the set design for the set. I was intimately involved with every card. So that got me to, that's 81 cards. So now I'm at 170. So it is quite possible nobody's ever passing me. While making this presentation, I had another card banned. Seeker of Skybreak just got banned in Pauper. Basically, it took us 13 years to figure out to write another on cards. So anyway, guys, that is the story of how I made 171 banned cards. So thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for Mark Rosewater.
Man, I timed that at 51 minutes.
Setting the bar high on banned cards. Feel free to stick